With the release of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the recent announcement of the Xbox Ally X, it got me thinking about the future of the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED. And today I wanted to go over some of my wish list things about the Steam Deck if they were to make the second generation of the Steam Deck or the Steam Deck OLED. If during this video I missed out on something about the Steam Deck that you would like to see on the second generation of it, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really curious what you guys find that you love about it, or something that you would like to have or you're missing from the Steam Deck. For me personally, the Steam Deck OLED is kind of a hard thing to really upgrade, because on the surface I really love the way it is made. In my opinion, there's a lot to love about it. First off is the ergonomics. The ergonomics, in my opinion, are still the best in 2025. I have not had a handheld console, that has been as ergonomic for a human hand as the Steam Deck OLED has been. In my opinion, it just feels incredible in hand. Every time I put it in my hands, it just feels so nice. It's like that feeling, the cozy feeling that you get, that it just is the best in terms of ergonomics. Everything is made for the human hand. Even like the way it's cut off, the profile of it, going exactly how your palm would go over it. You know, the grips especially, the way your hand goes over it. Even where the buttons and the analog sticks are a little bit higher, because when you're holding a handheld console, you're holding it a little bit higher. You know, your fingers naturally go a little bit higher than a normal traditional controller, and it just made so much more, comfortable for your human hand to play on the Steam Deck OLED when compared to different consoles. And because of that, the ergonomic part of it, I would leave as it is. It is the best in my opinion, and they probably would change a little bit, but if they stayed with the same exact body, I would be more than happy with it. It could be just visually the same console, and I would be really happy with it because it is that good. And I know they could probably find a way to improve it, but me personally, I would say that the ergonomics are incredible and I could stay with the way it is. Second off the screen, it is a beautiful AMOLED display that can go up to 90 Hz, and it is a 900p display. Well, in 2025 we have more and more consoles like the Nintendo Switch 2 that go up to Full HD 120 Hz, meaning that you can play at 120 frames per second, even though there is no games to really support that. And because this is a PC in the body of a handheld, you can set indie games, for example, at the full maximum resolution and frame rates. So in that case, if we had more frames, we could put it at 120 frames per second if we wanted to. So I'm gonna be honest, for me personally, 900p on a handheld of this size is still incredible. Everything still feels super sharp and is really nice to look at. So in my opinion, personally, I would not need a bigger resolution. So I would say sticking with this exact panel, which is 900p, would be perfectly fine. At the same time, games have to be run at a little bit lower resolution, meaning that we have more power advantage to run at better settings or frame rates. But if they really wanted to push it, I guess Full HD screen would be nice too. I would definitely stick with the OLED because the OLED is just that much better. I feel like the viewing experience, how things look on the display, is just a beautiful sight to see, in my opinion. It really is making those colors pop so much more. It just makes the games and the experience that much better. So I would definitely stick with the OLED right away. So I don't know if they would call it the Steam Deck OLED 2 or the Steam Deck 2 and just have the OLED into it, so that's already the standard in the Steam Deck 2, but I would definitely go for the OLED display if possible. And I know there is beautiful LCD screens too, like the Asus ROG Ally has a very nice LCD panel. If possible, push it to 120 Hz. We went from 60 to 90 from the Steam Deck to the Steam Deck OLED, and why not go to 120? If we can support the game in 120, that would be beautiful. If we can't, we can always go to 90 or 60 if we want to. So that would be really nice. It isn't something that we need to. I feel like the Steam Deck OLED with its 900p and 90 Hz display has been holding up so much that I just feel like if they actually also kept this screen on the second iteration of the Steam Deck, it would be more than fine with me. But there is one thing that I would definitely upgrade on this Steam Deck too, and that is the power of it. In my opinion, this is the part that really makes it feel that it's a little bit getting older at this point. I know for many, this is still more than enough power for most games, especially if you're looking to play it as a backlog machine. In that case, it is an incredible device. You can really power through the backlog, is super comfortable, runs those games incredibly well, and many of the games, for example like the Batman Arkham Trilogy, which by the way, on instant gaming you can find a great deal on it, but I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Well, Batman Arkham Trilogy, for example, can run better than on a new generation console like PS5 or Xbox Series X, because on those consoles they had frame rate and resolution caps. Because of that, you cannot push it any farther than it was on the original when it released. So you have to play, for example, on 30 frames per second. Where here, because this is a handheld PC, you can set it up yourself and you can have a 60 frames per second experience on a handheld, making this just a much better experience. And that goes for different games like The Witcher 3, or for example, I've been playing lately Dust and Elysian Tale, a game that I remember as a kid from Xbox 360. But the game, you know how it looked, it was definitely not the best experience in terms of like 2025. But on this, if they sold it now as a new game, I think people would not expect it to be that old. You can push it at full resolution. It actually looks beautiful on this display, especially in the OLED. Works at 90 Hz. It is just an incredible experience. So the older games, the indie games, the smaller games, or even AAA games that are a couple of years old work incredibly well on the Steam Deck OLED. And coming back to the Batman Arkham Trilogy and instant gaming, I was actually able to find Batman Arkham Trilogy for just a couple of dollars. Better yet, I was actually able to find many of the games that I have on the Steam Deck OLED on instant gaming for $1 or $2. So I can highly recommend you guys check out instant gaming. I've got many of the games for my Steam Deck from there, and they have great deals. If you're interested in instant gaming, I'm gonna leave a link down below to their website. And together with Instant Gaming, we're doing a giveaway where one of you can win a game of your choice. If you're interested in this month's giveaway, check out the link down below. Coming back to the topic of power. Those games run incredibly well on the Steam Deck OLED, and many of the even newer games can still run on it. Remember, we had the Assassin's Creed Shadows that works on the Steam Deck OLED, but I do feel like we're starting to feel that we really have to push the graphics to the lowest, and the frame rates are gonna be much lower too. Because of that, I feel like I wish we had more power. To be honest, I would be totally fine with the same exact piece of technology, just with more power, to have that better capabilities for future-proof and for modern games. Because lately, I've noticed that I use the Steam Deck as a more of a backlog machine rather than a current gen device. I would probably not play the newest games unless they're smaller games, indie games, or just easier to run. Usually the modern games I'm gonna play on my home consoles, but it'd be really cool if we had just a little bit more power, so you can push a little bit more frame rates, a little bit more graphics, like all those different things would be really nice, especially coming into 2025 where there is much more competition with handheld PCs based on Windows, with Z1 Extreme chips and Z2 Extreme chips on the way, like the Xbox Li X, and with the new generation of Nintendo Switch 2, which also seems to have really nice capabilities. What just makes this much more future-proof. The last thing on my wish list of what I wish this could be capable of is playing natively games outside of Steam OS or the Steam Store in that regard. While I love the Steam OS, how it works, you can put it into sleep mode, pick it up and start playing again, I do feel like I wish there was just more capabilities with it. You can play different games from different launchers through Heroic Launcher like Epic Store games, but I wish we had just much more capabilities so that we could play from, for example, Xbox Game Pass. I have the Game Pass, and that way I would have way more games available on the Steam Deck. For me personally, I had pretty much no games when I was coming into the Steam Deck, but if I was able to import some games from the Game Pass, I would have much more things to play with right away. And I would just love to be natively able to play not only the Steam OS, but also the Epic just natively, especially the Xbox or EA games. That way we could just seamlessly play all the games on the Steam Deck. In that case, I would pretty much say there would be no reason to get any other handheld out there on the market other than the Steam Deck. It would be just the best of both worlds. But at the moment we cannot really do that, and because of that I feel like that is one thing that I wish we could have had. But with the new Xbox handheld, I feel like that could be the case for that console. So we kind of have to wait and see how that goes. Well, I wish it was on this too. With that being said, for most part I feel like it is perfect the way it is. I would just change a little bit of things. I don't feel like there's much needed to be improved. Maybe just an upgrade in terms of power and just a little bit more accessibility would be nice. But even as it is, with just more power, I will be more than happy with the Steam Deck 2. It is still my favorite handheld out there on the market, and it's definitely the most comfortable, just the most, ease of use, how it works, the software, the hardware, everything is just incredible on it. It is still my favorite, and I guess for many of you, it's still the favorite too. If there's anything I missed that you would love on the Steam Deck 2, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really curious what you guys would like to see as a feature on the new generation of Steam Deck. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.